document M. N, as stated with M, they kind of go together. This one is also about overproduction as a cause of the Great Depression. And so this is a visual one. This was printed in 1930, so you're starting to recognize the problem. The problem discussed in document M was more on consumer buying. Document N is about the agricultural side of the country, but the artist is portraying that there was overproduction in farming as well, and it shows that as an issue. The reason for the overproduction was that in the 20s, European demand for our agricultural goods was high. Shortly after World War I, as Europe was rebuilding, and during World War I, our farm goods were being shipped over all the time. But as European countries got back on their feet, they didn't need U.S. goods anymore. But while they had needed them, farmers sought out mortgages from rural banks to finance the purchase of more crop land and new machinery. But then by the mid-1920s, they lost their European market, and our farmers were left in debt with a surplus of crops. So looking at the cartoon, what does the cartoon say was a big problem for U.S. farmers? Overproduction. This is our problem. What happens to prices when surpluses are high? Prices fall. Okay, he's showing that through the dropping of the eggs, but it's meant pretty literally. And why do prices fall? It is the law of supply and demand. When supply is greater than demand, sellers are forced to lower prices in order to attract buyers. We're going to make another one of those cause and effect lists over here in the margin so that you can see what connects farm overproduction to a nationwide depression. Okay, so we have farm overproduction, and we understand why now. We used to be supplying the United States and Europe with farm goods, so farmers expanded, but now the European market is gone, so they have overproduction. So we're going to start with that. We have farm overproduction. All right, when that happens, there are lower prices for crops. It's good if you're trying to buy crops, bad if you're trying to sell them, which the farmers are. And we'll talk about how many people were farmers as well. So lower prices for crops equals less profit for farmers. When there is less profit for farmers, there is less purchasing of consumer goods. And that's less purchasing of consumer goods by farmers and people in the agricultural society. So there's fewer goods sold by businesses. This is starting to sound familiar. When there are fewer goods sold by businesses, workers are laid off. When workers are laid off, there are more people that are reducing their buying power. People are laid off, they're unemployed, that kind of goes hand in hand. So those are also former consumers that are no longer spending. We are down to the bottom of our page. Are we down to the bottom of our list? And that, we'll just go over here, can equal a nationwide depression. Now, if there's overproduction in farming today, would it hurt us as much as it did back then? The reasonable answer is no. Today, we'll say in the 2000s, we'll be generous with our time. 2% of Americans are farmers. In the 20s, 50% of Americans were farmers. That is going to hurt a large part of the population, and that is going to have a big impact when this domino effect happens and they stop spending.